songs.
Yeah.
I knew C.C. Winans and Kirk Franklin.
We did that's classical gospel.
Yeah,
Right.
we had some. Remember when Tri-City collapsed? We absorbed a lot of Tri-City students at Plaza,
Oh, yeah.
and me, my brother, and then the Van Pelts.
Mhm.
Two
Oh.
of John's siblings. We did a quartet over in the Vandermeer.
There's a Vandermeer room.
And we sang. It was awesome. And we went to show them the music, and they were like, "This is copyright."
It's copyrighted.
So-
There's a copy of
It
copyrighted
was a copy of
music.
copyrighted music, and it wasn't my music. I wasn't the one in charge of that part of it. But apparently, what the student who we were staying with said, she said that at their old meet that they used to go to with their old school, as long as you could say, "This is like I have the book," and you could hand out copies as long as you say that I have the book, and then you collect the copies at the end. But that doesn't work for this competition.
Yeah,
So
it shouldn't work for any competition.
it shouldn't.
actually.
Yeah.
I must have did. Oh,
Has
because
to
when
be, has to be original.
Yeah.
when I did my first academic meet at Blue Ridge, I got like music off like some sheet music site.
Mhm.
That's where I would get mine off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
That
Because on the
works.
bottom of it says this, you paid for the right
Yeah,
to.
this was actually like a book that she had copied pictures from.
Yeah.
And then we had the book. Cherish Van Pelt was actually who was playing, and Cherish had the book, and then she gave copies to them, and they were like, "Yeah, this won't work." So we ended up getting a 2 just because of that.
Just because of that. Otherwise, it was great. And
I will always be sour. I told everybody I got a 1.
you know,
I-
it is a technical violation. In
It
some
is.
academic meets, it automatically disqualifies you.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
So we're actually pretty lenient.
Oh yeah, no, we were very thankful.
Mhm.
We were afraid you weren't gonna let us sing, and you guys did, so we were very happy about that.
So again, you want to be encouraging. All right, so I've now started we're now official. We are now we're now on. We're live streaming to everybody out there who's not watching,
Yay.
and we
Glad they're
can
not watching.
get through the rest of the stuff. Okay, what I'll do each class period.
Here's a result from search.
Thank you. The phone that will not leave me alone. Okay. Each class period will rhyme. They're not exactly the same thing each week, but each week we're going to do similar kinds of things. And I'll start the recorder, we'll open with prayer. If there's something that I need you to listen to, I'll either do it before I start the camera, after I turn the camera off, or I'll say, I want you to look at this thing on YouTube, and I'll put the link somewhere
You
in
can
camera.
pause it where it won't play anything, right? I can show you how
Oh,
if you want
yeah.
me to do that
Show
one
me
time.
afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to open up the little.
No, you can pause it on the box.
Can I?
Mhm.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
It'll do a pause, and then it'll have on the thing, it'll say class will resume shortly kind of thing. And then after you unpause it, it'll come back to
I'm
hearing.
going to do that right now. So how would do I go to page 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Page 2.
Yeah, and then there should be maybe a pause option on there. Maybe break.
There's a break.
Yeah, that'd be it. Camera.
Oh, camera does it.
Yep.
Okay. Are you sure? Okay,
Looks like it's on.
Should be.
it's recording.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has the audio now.
All right,
Oh yeah.
all right. Now just shrinky dink that. Okay. All right. Cool.
Learn something new every day.
Good. I'll need that in the next class. Okay, let's go through this stuff so we know what we're doing this
And this
semester.
is the syllabi, right?
Yep. So, now, first of all, for next week, here's your assignment for next week. Conduct Messiah. Number 2, Comfort Ye. Okay. Comfort Ye is right in the opening, right after the overture. Dun, 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 dun. And what you can do with Comfort Ye, and I can't show you right now because if I turn it on, then I have to break it again. But you're going to go dee 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 dee.
Yeah,
What am
it's
I?
very slow.
Yeah, what is that? What am I conducting?
It's a broken 4, basically. It's a, I
Broken 4 called
don't remember what the proper term is for it.
subdivided.
Subdivided, yeah.
So I'm in a 4 pattern,
Mm-hmm.
2, but I'm subdividing the beats, duple beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Pa 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 pa. Ba-da-dum bum 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 bum. Ba-da-dum dum ba-dum dum dum dum. Comfort ye, bum ba-da. Dun 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 dun. Comfort ye, my people. Wah, 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 ad lib. Come, and then the tenor's going to do whatever he wants to do. Comfort ye. Bum, 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 bum. Comfort ye, my people.
Will you sing for us next week?
Yes.
Bottom. Saith, we'll use a recording. God, saith your God. Bum 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 bum. Ba-da-dee dee dee dee. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem. Okay, that goes on. It goes when it gets to B. Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her war, boom, boom, ba-da-da. Okay, and that goes on, and then it gets to the voice of him, and this is almost done like a recitative. Dee 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 dee, the voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, because all you're doing is the first beat. Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Bum, bum. Typical for Handel, to instead of do those last 2 beats on the beat, you wait for the singer to go, God, bump, bump, and you direct it. Now, so, pick a video
Oh, good.
on YouTube and conduct it. Cool, huh? And then by doing that, we'll start with this, kind of we end with Messiah and basic conducting and start with Messiah and advanced conducting. And you're going to pick one of those videos, you're going to come and conduct, and all you have to do is, so you're just going to rehearse with the video, okay? So first thing you're going to do next week is Comfort Ye. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to discuss chapters 3 and 5, which you all have.
I have the 5th.
You have the 5th too, because it's blue.
What do you have?
The 5th.
Oh, good.
Why did you tell me all those chapters whenever I thought you had the
It
edition?
depends on your edition.
But we
Okay.
have the 5th edition. Why was it different?
Well, I didn't know what edition you had.
Oh, so did you just give like? Oh, so you
I
were
don't know
saying
what
based on
edition
the
you have.
edition that you have, it could be any
It could
one
be
of these.
this, or this.
I thought you were saying it
Yes.
was you need to read these 3
all-
and figure it out. Okay.
We're all in this edition. That's
good.
good.
So chapters 1 through 5, or 3 through 5.
3 and 5.
Okay.
Read chapters 3 and 5. The baton and expressive gestures. So you don't have to read. There will be parts of the book we're not reading. Read 3 and 5. Now you should have read for this class 14. Okay. And if you didn't, that's all right. Check your email. And that was in that first email. Okay. So, but we'll talk about that. We'll get to that. And sing, play, and conduct. Page 53 of Worthy is the Lamb. Cool. Okay.
You're gonna. We're gonna have to do like a focus in class on how to do that.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that right now. Okay, this is sing, play, conduct. So number 53 in the Messiah score. This is a full vocal score, and then there's the
Chorus.
were you both in Messiah?
No, I was not.
You weren't in Messiah.
You want if you go on if you want to buy your own, Amazon has this for like $15.
Okay.
And if you don't want to, you don't. Like I said, we got Messiah chord scores all over. You will need a Messiah score at some point in your life.
That's why.
Have you ever sung Messiah?
I sung the Hallelujah
A
chorus.
Hallelujah chorus, okay. At some point, you will sing. We do Messiah every 4 years.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Every 4 years. So, and this is the edition you want, the full. What do they call it? The full vocal score, the complete vocal score.
Yeah, for 4-part chorus it makes yeah.
Okay.
Complete on paper.
So here is Worthy is the Lamb,
What? I'm my brain. I can't find it.
and it's 237 in the full score.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing sing, play, and conduct every week. You're going to need a hymnal. Do you have a hymnal? Doesn't matter which one.
I have the same one from last time.
Okay, so you have the
The one you told us to get.
yeah
last
the
time.
one you have. Okay, if you don't have to have the one that we had from last time, but you do have a hymnal.
Okay. I
Okay.
can just grab one from church. That's fine.
Grab one from church. That'd be super.
Perks of being a
Because
pastor's daughter.
we'll be doing sing, play, and conduct from the hymnal after this. Sing, play, and conduct is the concept is very simple, but it will challenge you. So what'll happen is that if you look at just that first page of Worthy is the Lamb, okay. The way sing, play, and conduct is going to work is I'm going to have you sit at the piano, and I'm going to say, okay, you want to try it right now?
Is it just page 1?
Yeah.
I don't want to. No.
Okay.
You forget that.
So
No.
I'm going to have you say, okay, sing. I'll make it simple first time through. Sing the soprano line, play the alto line, and conduct. So you're going to go. Worthy is the Lamb that was slain and hath redeemed unto God by his blood. Right? So you're going to look at one line, you're going to sing one line, you're going to do the other line. And then I might say, okay, very nice, now sing the bass line and play the soprano line. And so you might go, okay, well, you still probably want to direct, so what am I doing? Playing the soprano? Worthy is the Lamb that was slain. Okay, and then you go through and make sense?
So, yeah. So on this specific one, you're just wanting us to sing soprano, play alto.
No.
Be prepared for all.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Good. Yeah, come give it a try. Let's go first. Okay, come on up.
I'm much braver than that. And did you say
Francine
just? Did you say
Francine
just
is the
page
brave one
one?
in the class. Yeah, just page.
Are you wanting us to just break it blood or go through to the and?
You can go on to the end. And to receive. It's just deep. It's just.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to start. Let's do Francine. Let's do.
I'm gonna come watch.
Are you a soprano or an alto?
Alto all the way.
Okay. I'm going to have you sing the alto and play the soprano, and you're going to want to conduct. You can conduct with either hand. And it's in 4.
Oh. I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, I know it hurts. It's crazy. I'm sorry. I made it. I was hoping I didn't make it look too easy, but it's not easy.
Bit. That's not right.
You're going to start on the D, and you can do that in your left hand if you're going to conduct with your right.
I'm sorry. I can't do it.
You go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I don't
So-
even know how to play this time signature, man.
4/4.
No, not sorry, not time signature. Key.
Don't worry about that.
Wrong
Okay.
word.
That's why you get to pick the hymns after this. You pick something in C.
Yeah, every time. Yeah. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Now, can you imagine that there would ever be a time as a choral conductor where you're playing one note and singing another part and conducting?
Oh no, I know I will, but that's after I've
Yes.
had lots of
Every-
time to practice for it.
Every day in choir rehearsal
Oh, yeah,
it happens.
I know.
That's why we're doing it.
Okay, so
Better to do it in a safe place right now.
wait, C, D, major, F. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't. You know this. Okay, so if it's D major. Is that right?
Well, you just C and F sharp, right?
Yeah.
So let's do the same thing. You're a soprano, and you just sung this.
Yeah.
Okay, so sing the soprano
Mhm.
and play the alto
Okay.
and conduct. So you're going to conduct with your right hand probably,
Yeah.
and you're going to play the alto with your left hand.
Yeah, I have to find my key first, which is I think where I'm struggling. How I'm supposed to play. I know I start on A,
Mm-hmm.
and then is alto A here or here?
Doesn't matter.
Here.
Whatever's comfortable.
So it's something
You're
like,
going to give a downbeat.
yeah. So.
Boom. Yeah.
And it's down. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that'll be an F sharp.
Yeah, okay, so. Yeah, after I can get my hand together, I can figure out how to play it different and sing it, maybe.
You will have to, when you first start doing this, you will have to isolate things.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
Maybe you take one line and you sing it while you conduct.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably already do that just fine. You
Yeah.
probably already do it naturally. Then you're going to want to take a line and sing a line and play a line.
Mm-hmm.
And then switch the lines.
Is there any chance we can shorten it this first time?
To one page?
We're already on one page.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah, I know.
you're basically
it's already
doing
really short.
like 5 or 6 measures.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay.
Okay.
Cool?
I have an idea of what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It makes sense.
Okay. So, break it down. Now, you're thinking, this is crazy. This is like superhuman. We can't do this. But actually you can. And what happens is that you do this all the time with other stuff.
Yeah.
If you drive a car, you're doing multiple things at the same time. When you first learn to drive, do you both drive cars?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've had students who don't drive. I have students
like
right now who
driving a
don't
car.
drive. Yes. Okay, and so what happens when you're learning to drive a car is check right, check left, check right, check the thing, put the foot, and then turn the ignition. Everything is a step. Okay? So when you first learn to drive, do either of you drive sticks or clutches?
I don't now, but I have.
You have? Have you ever?
Nope.
Okay. And so they're kind of terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I still can't do it now.
Well, I learned on a clutch car, so it's the first time I got into an automatic. I was like, whoa, this is like cheating. But it's just what you become accustomed to. So when you drive, it works like, hey, you want to go over to Raising Cane's and get some fried chicken? Sure, this is Christopher. Sure, right? Because Christopher likes Raising Cane's.
Yeah.
So the process of driving is simply picking a place. The thought of driving becomes automatic. You go to the car, you put your key in the, unlock the lock, you sit in the seat, maybe you have to adjust the seat if somebody else drove it before you put your seatbelt on, you put the key in the ignition, you turn it on, you hit the accelerator, you look behind you, you put it in reverse, and then you drive to Raising Cane's. You you don't even think about your driving anymore, probably, or very little. Maybe if it's real busy out on the road, you're looking around, making sure nobody hits you and you don't hit anybody else. But the actual process of driving the car becomes basically automatic. That's what we're trying to do with Sing, Play, and Conduct.
Yeah.
So that when you sit in front of the music or you sit in front of a choir, that your responses become automatic. So that if you're talking to, you're up here conducting the piece and the piece is running in your head, and Jimmy is over here pulling Susie's hair, Jimmy, stop that. And this just keeps going on,
Yeah.
because that part of the brain's got it. Then you go, okay, I'm going to leave that over there, let that happen, and I'm going to talk to Jimmy over here and reprimand him. No, sometimes this, but that's all right. Okay?
Okay.
This will train your brain. This will train your ear to listen. This will train your brain to multitask in conducting. So if I asked you to do a 3 pattern against a 4 pattern, you can do that, right?
No.
And every 12 beats they come back together.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Okay. Or if I can mirror my beat. Okay, here's a 4 pattern and I'm mirroring it. Now I'm going to put them, I'm going to sync them. So they're, okay? So now they're in sync. Now I'm going to mirror, right? And now I'm going to do a 4 pattern against a 3 pattern. Ready? So I've got 4 in this hand. I've got 3 in this hand, right? Okay, makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I know, like, I can see it and understand how you're doing it, but my brain is not computing to my body.
Okay, and now in basic conducting, remember when I used to go, okay, now on beat 2, lift your hand?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, bop,
Mm-hmm.
and on beat 3, duh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, what we're doing is we're developing brain independence.
Yeah.
Okay, so that the brain can control several things at the same time, and it will. It's fine. You just have to train the brain to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're still going through the
this-
intro of the class still. Okay.
Mhm.
We're getting there. So next week you're going to conduct Messiah, number 2. We're going to discuss chapters 3 and 5. They're quick reads. Modern conductor, quick reads. You're going to sing, play, and conduct. And just the first page of Worthy is the Lamb. You should, between now and next Tuesday afternoon, you should be able to easily sing all 4 parts, easily play all 4 parts, conduct in 4, and do them together. Right? So I might go sing the bass and play the soprano. Sing the tenor and play the bass. Play the alto and sing the tenor. Okay? In your own octave. Obviously, you don't have to do the octaves right. Okay? Choral reading score. Do the intro and examples 1 through 5. The intro and examples 1 through 5. There's a couple intro examples. There's a couple practice ones at the beginning, and then examples 1 through 5.
And you'll send us the audio?
And I will share. If you don't get those sharing things from me by midnight tonight, send me an email. So I have a meeting after this, a lesson after that, and a class after that, and I finish tonight at about 9 o'clock. I go straight through. So if I happen to forget to do that, which is highly likely, those of you who have had a class with me before know that you better send me some emails. Share choral reading score discs. Okay. Make sure that I should get it out by midnight. If I don't, let me know. Next week, bring a hymnal of your choice. Bring a hymnal of your choice. And then lastly, see how practical this class is? Isn't it cool?
It's very practical. It's also a lot.
It's got to happen at some point.
Oh yeah, I know.
And this is the one that
I
happens.
know.
Okay, now, do you have a metronome app on your device?
I can download them.
Okay.
This is it. Do you want me to play something at 145 BPM?
Nope.
That's what
I
it's
don't want you to play anything right now. I want you to listen to this. Ready? What is that tempo? How many beats per minute?
semi-slow. You throw a number
Take
out
a
there.
take a stab.
60, 62.
This is 70.
Okay. What is this? What's 60 sound like?
Pretty slow.
Yeah, relatively slow.
What?
The clock is 60.
Oh. Ah, shoot.
So
Ah,
70.
so it's not 60. What is it? Is it slower or faster than 60?
Faster.
It's faster. What's 120? That's a march.
It's double.
Bum bum ba-dum bum ba-dum bum 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 bum. That's how I know what 120 is. Bum ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum ba-da-da-da-dum bum 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 bum. Every march is in 120. So if that's 120, dun 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 dun, and 60 is bum 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 bum, then what would this be?
Maybe 80? Closer to 80?
Okay, 80.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, are you happy with 80 or faster, slower than 80?
No, I think it's
Okay, it's 90. Okay, so now we don't have the luxury always of having a ticking clock in the
Yeah,
room.
I don't have one.
And when we actually test this, I'll take the battery out of the clock.
No, but we just put one in there, Tom.
I will take the battery out of the clock. What you need to work on right now is 4 tempi. 60, 90, 76, and 120. I will add more.
So 60,
How do you do it? Right. 60, 90, 76, and 120.
Why do you say out of order?
I could say 60, 76, 90, 120.
Okay, is there...
60 is easy.
I was just saying, is there a specific reason that it was in that order? Okay.
This is how I put them on there.
Okay.
So 76 is a strange one. I think if you get 60, 90, and 120, you can anchor everything else. Okay, because everything else becomes, okay, there's 60, that's 2, 90 is... Okay, but believe it or not, you actually have to know what tempos are too as a choral conductor. And generally, you don't have the luxury of taking a metronome up with you in performance. Now, eventually, ultimately, you start to learn tempi, but it's all right to. Have you ever worked with a choral conductor or with any kind of conductor, and they go, oh, okay, so this is about 72, ding, 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 and they go, and you go, well, how does he know that's 72? Well, because after you've done it for 20 years, you know what tempi are. When I was in high school, I worked for the school paper. I was a geeky, I would have been a 10th grader. I worked for the school paper, and I was in the dark room all the time. This is back when they had dark rooms and you took pictures with actual film and 35 millimeters. I was the guy with the camera and the long telephoto lens taking pictures of the basketball team, right? Football team. And I would take that film into the dark room, and I would develop the pictures. When I was a 10th grader, I was in the dark room all the time developing film. This is more information than you need, I'm sure. But black and white film and black and white processing for pictures is done at the same temperature. You have to set the temperature, otherwise it changes the amount of time you leave stuff in the chemicals. 68 degrees. I got to a point where I could touch the chemical bath and know that it was on the mark for 68 degrees. Because I was in there so much, all I'd have to do is go, yep, that's good to go, and I'd do the processing. Otherwise, you have to check the thermometer. But I did it so much, I stopped thinking about it. I just feel it and go, yeah, that's good. And I do, and you're good to within a half a degree. I was good to within a half or 1 degree. And color's done at 70 and a half degrees. Black and white at 68, so for what it's worth. So the same thing will happen with tempi, but only if you make it happen, right? If I don't ask you to do this, you'll never do it, and you'll be relying on a metronome your whole life, and there's no reason to do that. Okay, so for next week, get familiar with those tempos, and what you do is you take your device, and you go, okay, you might do this. Yeah, I don't like that click. There. And you're altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. And so what I do is, when I first started out, I would listen to these tempos and go, that's the tempo of this song. Worthy is the, nope, that doesn't work, see? So you pick a song, and so for me, it's 120 to this day. If there's something in 120, I think March. Bum bum ba-dum bum ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum bum bum ba-dum ba-bum ba-dum bum ba-da-da-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum ba-dum bum ba-da-da-dum bum bum. Right on the money, right? So I was about 120, right on the money. Well, if I can figure out 120, dun da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun dun da 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 dun dun, bum, bum. That's 60. Bum. Bum ba dum ba dum ba dum bum bum ba da 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 dum bum ba da 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 dum bum. It's 60, right? Because 60 is half of 120. So 60 and 120 are very easy to anchor. Now, when you're resting, your heart rate might be, I've got a real slow resting heart rate, but your heart rate might be 72 or 76. So if it's 76, and you feel your heart rate, you go, okay, that's pretty much 70, whatever. Okay, so there's things you can relate it to help you in the beginning as you figure out where they are. Okay, so if I'm doing music and I see it says 120, dum 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 dum, I'm right into 120. Okay. That's where we want to get you. We want this to become automatic. Okay, so 60, 90, 76, and 120. Any questions? It's not so bad, is it?
I think the aspect of not having just the general knowledge of a lot of it is difficult, but it'll get better.
Do you understand that I was where you are right now?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you understand that. Okay.
You're not God.
No.
You weren't born with the ability to do it all.
None of this stuff came automatically for me. I'm not like I wasn't Mr. Music and okay, everything I learned about singing, everything, all the technique, all had to be learned. Nothing happened naturally for me. So that's probably better to have me as a teacher than somebody who's brilliant. Okay. Syllabus. Briefly, because we've spent enough on that, all that first stuff. I'm going to have you probably have you conduct the chorale. Are either of you in the chorale right now? Monday night rehearsals? Okay. Are both of you available Monday nights?
Depending on
If you
spring
have-
shorts rehearsals.
Okay, depending on,
Spring shorts rehearsals.
okay, spring shorts rehearsals. Could you get out for 15 or 20 minutes?
We'll find out.
Okay. So maybe with some, and how long do they go? When spring shorts over?
The 25th.
Of April?
Yeah.
Okay, so we could pull it in after that. It would be good to do it before then.
I have no issue with any kind.
Okay. What I'll try to do is get a slot to get you in front of a choir so you can actually conduct. And then maybe we can work something out with your, are you in a lot of different parts of spring shorts or just one or two
Just
things?
one.
Just one?
Yeah, but they require 2 practices a week, so.
Okay.
I do conduct my choir at church. Does that count?
It, not if I can't be there to observe
Okay.
it. So I need to see you conduct. So we'll make it work. We'll figure out something.
Okay.
Will this be pieces that they're already working on that you're just going to give us to conduct, or will we teach them something?
We'll see. We'll see where we are when it comes time. Observation.
Yeah. I had a
I'm
question.
going to change that to 1 rehearsal instead of 2. You're going to observe. If you've read the thing, it says observe 2 choral rehearsals. I'm going to change that to 1. If I'd love to have you, and you're not sure when you're rehearsing.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Okay. I'd love to have you go observe a Bill. Bill William Baker.
Yeah, I was thinking William
Yeah,
Baker.
Bill Baker, Festival Singers. The rehearsals are on Tuesday night. And I can't go with, normally I go with you and then take you out to Cheesecake Factory afterwards. That's not gonna happen this year because I have class on Tuesday night.
That's a bummer.
Yeah,
I haven't
so,
been to Cheesecake Factory.
I haven't either.
anyway, that would be my preference, to go see why don't you see if you're gonna be, if you can get off a Monday night and a Tuesday night.
Alright.
So that's your job. And then you can go see William Baker.
So it says that we're going to have a class field trip. So no class field trip then?
That would be the class field trip,
Okay.
Okay.
if it would get you to William Baker. So 1 rehearsal.
And we're just going to talk about that. There's not a paper like last time. Right?
Right. Yeah, there is a paper. Normally we talk about it at Cheesecake Factory. We'll figure out. We'll probably just come and talk about it here. Choral listening. Okay. I'm going to have you do 30 minutes of 5 style periods of choral listening. Now I'm not going to have you listen to medieval music because you're probably not going to perform chant. Probably not going to happen. Now you might, and if you do, you can figure it out. But I'm going to have you listen to 30 minutes each of the other style periods, and that would be
For
Baroque,
Classical.
classical,
Romantic,
romantic,
Impressionist. No.
20th century,
20th century, modern, okay,
Renaissance.
Renaissance. Okay, so that's a 5. So I'm going to have you listen to 30 minutes of each of those, and I want you to list what you listen to. Give me the YouTube links, because I'm assuming you're going to do it off of YouTube. Give me the YouTube links and what you listen to, and jot down characteristics of the music. Okay, what are some differences? What are some things that distinguish Baroque music? What are some stylistic things that happen in Baroque music?
Polyphonic. Polyphony.
It's polyphonic.
So-
It's, what did you say? Polyphonic?
I said polyphony. That's what I said.
Okay, polyphony. That's a big one.
Harpsichords? I don't know.
Yeah,
Harpsichords. That was the instrument I couldn't remember.
Instruments.
Instrumentation was kind of
And
interesting.
it's not just, there may be, like for instance, organ was used in the Baroque and other times, but organ is a defining instrument for the Baroque period. Okay, so
I
it
was thinking that.
tends to be polyphonic. There's some homophonic writing in Baroque, but it tends to be very polyphonic. Instrumentation are things like harpsichords and stuff like that. What are other characteristics?
Isn't it opera?
Opera is actually
Yeah,
the two big impacts of the Baroque period are opera, the invention of
Yeah.
opera, and idiomatic instrumental writing.
I was right. Okay.
That
Oh,
is
wasn't
that is writing for the specific characteristics of
written down
specific
from last
instruments.
semester.
That's the Baroque. That's why the organ is all that stuff going on in the organ. There's no other instrument that can play toccata and fugue in D minor. No other single type instrument. You can do it with an orchestra, but there's not a single other instrument that you can play that piece. It is written specifically for organ. Okay, other things about the Baroque.
Strings.
Strings, very good. In
Vivaldi.
families, okay,
Vivaldi.
Vivaldi, absolutely. Strings,
Bird.
okay. Birds in the strings, okay. That would be back. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I was like the name.
programmatic. It's program music. It's
Yeah.
Vivaldi, doing slipping on the ice with the violins,
Oh,
or
okay.
doing tweet birds. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what that is.
Yeah, I was like, this is something I remember, but I don't remember what it is. So.
And he does in one he does a storm.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes on the slip, and he goes doodle-a-deedle-dee, 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 doodle-a-deedle-dee. That's lightning, right? Terraced.
Bird was a what's it called? A composer of the Renaissance.
Oh, I thought you were talking about birds.
No, I
He
was
does
thinking
birds,
of.
and Vivaldi does birds and seasons.
No, I pulled up my old review
Okay.
to see where I got that
Bird,
from. And it was
yes.
a Renaissance composer.
Okay, and Renaissance, of course, is also Baroque. Okay.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, polyphonic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of polyphony in Renaissance. Okay, so, but we're back to Baroque. There's stepped dynamics, terraced dynamics. So there's not a lot of crescendi, decrescendi. They were, okay. There's something called affecta lyra, which is the doctrine of one piece, one emotion. So with the Baroque period, if it was a happy piece, it was happy. It didn't change moods. The
No
mood-
modulation.
Yeah. Yeah, in Baroque, we're still not getting all these the modulation comes towards about about halfway through the Baroque, we start to get modulations because of Bach doing well-tempered clavier.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start getting things like sequences and stuff. Okay, so as you listen to this music, and from your own work on history, you're writing down characteristics of music. Okay, because if I know that the Baroque has terraced dynamics, and I know that the composers didn't write down the dynamics for the most part, then when I open up my Messiah score to conduct it, and it says, and you're going to do, let's say, comfort ye my people. Let's say I, assign that to you. and it says larghetto e piano. Okay, so it says piano there. That's a dynamic level. Larghetto is a tempo. Handel wouldn't have put either one of those in the original score. That's editorial.
Yeah.
So if you open up a piece of Baroque music and it has crescendi, decrescendi, or different dynamics, that's all editorial. Which means what?
That you can change it.
You have the freedom to change it.
That's one of the things that Jeremy told us when we sang it. He goes, he would tell us to do something, and I'm like, that's against what's written. Or it was, I never said anything, but he would say something like, somebody would say, well, that's against what's written here. I have the opposite written. He goes, it wasn't actually there in the first place.
It wasn't there in the first place. That's an editor.
Yeah, he goes, I'm honoring the things that were actually there, but this was not.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to Beethoven. If you open up a Beethoven score and it says pianissimo,
Keep it
Beethoven's, yeah, right. It's Beethoven says pianissimo, and we're not going to rewrite Beethoven. Okay, so what that does is it says, wow, okay, now that I understand that about Baroque music, it really opens up. I don't have to take that tempo. Now remember, and this we may as well talk about it right now. This Schirmer score is the standard score. There's actually two that are used in Messiah performances. This is the standard score that's used in the United States, which means that this has become what people think Messiah is supposed to sound like. Okay, but if you start listening to performances from Europe, you'll hear different tempos because they're using different scores by different editors. Now, it's a pretty advanced choral student that understands that what's on these pages, they do not have to follow. I think that's very freeing. So that's Baroque. So you're going to write all those things down, and at the end of this class, you're going to give me a list of, here are the pieces that I listened to, here's my 30 minutes of listening for each period, and here are the characteristics for all of that. Yeah?
And are we looking for characteristics, like the general characteristics of the period, or are we looking for characteristics specifically in that song?
You can do both.
Okay.
If you, at this level, and I can tell you both you're both great students. I know you're both great students. I know you paid attention in music history, or you're paying attention now. When I say what's a distinctive of Baroque, and you go, polyphony, bingo. Okay, then I know, okay, you're on top of it. I want this class to stretch you musically as choral conductors. Okay, we're learning the language of choral conducting. You're both music ed majors. You're going to spend probably a long part of your life in front of choirs. That would be my guess. And so my job is to fill your toolbox full of tools. It would be, right now, you're thinking about your first choral job. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to graduate from here, or I'm going to student teach, I'm going to graduate. Maybe I'm going to go back and take Mrs. Lee's place at Blue Ridge. Maybe I'm going to go work at Plaza Heights. Maybe I'm going to get a job. Maybe when Karis goes and moves to Spain or wherever she wants to be a missionary, I can go get her job. I can't remember the country she wants to go to, but she wants to go be a missionary. So then maybe you're going to get her job, whatever she's doing, and she's teaching, and you take her. I know this, the chances that at least one of you will go on for a master's degree are pretty high.
Yeah.
And there is a reasonable chance that one day you'll be doing college, university level choirs.
As long as my husband's working here and I have free college, I'll be taking classes.
That's the dream, baby.
In this country, in America, the highest level of music consistently done is in universities. Okay? So if you want to explore, some people are divers, some people are scanners. I'm a scanner. I like to take I have an interest in a lot of different things. Some people are divers. They just want to get into one thing and become an expert at it. For you to become an expert, you go on for advanced training, and the places you're going to have the greatest level of advanced training is working on master's, then doctorate degrees in university, and then going on to be a university choral conductor. I'm assuming that one or two of you will probably be on that path. You're not thinking about it right now, perhaps, but that is probably the path you're on. This is stuff that will make your life so much easier, it will make you a better musician. As I said at the beginning, music tells a story. The way music works is it sets up expectations, and then it violates those expectations. So when you're singing an aria, and you have these notes, and you'll see arcs of pitches, and the composer's doing this thing where he continues to build what ends up being a ceiling of pitch. And then all of a sudden, and you pop above that pitch. The impact on the listener is one of building tremendous excitement. It creates a lot of musical energy. There are times when we're creating musical energy. There's times when we're winding down musical energy. When we begin to stop looking at music as a series of notes stacked on each other, moving across the page, when you stop looking at music that way and actually start looking at what it actually is, that's just a form of writing it so that we can figure out how to transfer it from one person to the next. Mm-hmm. When you figure out that there's way more to music than that, okay, then you start to become a musician. You want a break?
Oh no, I was just wondering. So in a way, it's thinking of like embellishments in a way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can do it. You guys want a break? Normally we'll do a break. Or we can today I can just, if you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Go for it. So I'll tell you what, let's take a 6-minute break.
Okay.
We'll take a 6-minute or 7-minute break, and then I'll come back, and then we'll finish off by 3. Normally there will be a break. I'm sorry.
Do you want to pause the thing or just?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
No pauses. Let it run.
I shall respond.
Okay, I'll be back. Oh, forgetting that this classroom is in. I was in 109.
Hello. I should have gotten food. Oh well.
Mr. Everett's office has candy.
Oh yeah. I'm back.
Yeah, our class last semester lived off of Joe's candy for our breaks. So.
Let's see. It's kind of, yeah, that class. Look at that class Monday.
It's too foreign.
Yeah. Okay, so typical class, we're going to do reading, discussion, in-class lecture, and then we'll have all the applied conducting stuff we're doing. That's just what you can expect. Let's see, we already talked about that. Do you have a baton?
It's at my house.
Good. What kind of baton do you have?
A wooden one.
Yeah, okay. Bring it. So as a matter of fact, for Messiah, you definitely need a conductor.
Oh yeah.
So remember that you can conduct a choir with a baton, but hands are more expressive. You can't conduct an orchestra with your hands. They won't let you. Orchestras demand sticks. Okay, if you aren't conducting with a stick in front of an orchestra with a baton, they will think you are a charlatan. Okay, so just warning you. So let's get used to using that, and we can always do hand stuff too. I do choral with my hands usually, unless it's a big group, but I always use a stick for orchestras.
When we do the sing, play, conduct, can we just do
Your
it
hand.
again? Okay.
Your hand.
I'm gonna be whacking that piano. all
Right,
over.
because you will find yourself, one day, you're going to be in a choir rehearsal, sitting at the piano going like this, going, altos, altos, altos. The hills are, and you're going to be thinking, he was right. I am sitting here at the piano doing sing, play, and conduct. So that will come. Okay.
I know you're right.
Right. That. Okay, just briefly, conducting. Conducting is teaching. Okay. Conducting is about your inner vision for music. When you conduct a piece of music, what you need to do is own that piece of music before you ever start rehearsing it. Know what you want out of it. Know what your group, you have to understand what your group's capable of. But then your job is to understand that music and live with it in such a way that you can then, in a very real sense, it's like playing an instrument. You're playing the choir. You're saying to the choir, this is what I want from you because this is my vision for this piece. It's like a director with a play, same thing. You should be asking, what should this sound like at this point? So whether it's in the rehearsal process or whether it's actually a point in the music, what is this supposed to sound like? What are the strengths of musical notation? That's a question, not rhetorical.
Oh,
What are the strengths of music notation?
Teaches you things like the beat, the note that you need to play on. Sometimes it'll even list things like the tempo or the sound, how loud or quiet it needs to be. It can give you even sometimes suggestions on how to produce it, like if it needs to be sweet and soft or if it needs to be march-like. You're going to ask the negatives next.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But as far as the good things about music notation, it doesn't have to be like this.
No.
It didn't used to be like this. Music notation did not used to look like this. It does now. 5 lines, 4 spaces, solid and round, open notes and flags and stems and dynamic levels and all that stuff. And it's this shorthand, this musical shorthand. Much of it is in Italian. It's just because the Italians invented a lot of it. Okay, so that is it's a way for me to write down stuff and hand it to somebody who doesn't speak American. I don't really speak English, I speak American. Mm-hmm. Hand it to somebody who doesn't speak American, and they can understand what I want.
Yes.
So it is a language in a very real sense. What are some weaknesses of music notation?
Emotion.
Okay, you can't really put emotion into it. Mm-hmm. You can put hints to it, mm-hmm. but you can't really. And music is inherently emotional. And so, how do we take this music that's inherently emotional and breathe emotion into it? It's a weakness of music. What else? What are the weaknesses of music?
It can distract from the hearing side of things.
Okay.
If you're too focused on the notation and making sure that every single thing hits every single way, you're not going to maybe notice the tones of the voices that you're hearing.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll throw this in. Another weakness of music notation is that it is very specific. Mm-hmm. The music notation that we use is very specific to what would be called Western music from about 1600 on. It's not that good for Renaissance, and it's horrible for medieval. This type of notation for medieval music is blasphemy, because medieval music was never conceived with measures, and we naturally emphasize the first beat of each measure. Okay, so what this does is it locks us into a form that says, okay, this is the way music notation works great for the style of music that's written with music notation, but beyond that, it's very limited. Understand that when we talk about music theory or talk about music history, that it's German-centric. The Germans invented it. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you pick up books and say, who are the greatest musicians who've ever lived, it's Beethoven, Bach, Brahms, and Mozart. There are four Germans or Austrians. Okay, and that's because the Germans invented music history. Now, the truth is that if you were on a desert island, you're on a desert island, you could only take one musician, one composer with you, who would it be? C.C. Winans. No.
Nah. Probably Schubert.
Schubert. Okay, cool. Another German.
I have no idea.
Okay, for me it'd be Debussy.
I haven't listened to enough to know.
Yeah, me neither.
From what I've sang before, I'd probably take Quilter, because that's who I'm listening to. That's who I'm enjoying right now.
Okay.
But I haven't listened to enough.
So your horizons are expanding. Mm-hmm. I think Brahms is brilliant, and Brahms and Debussy were writing at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I think Debussy was brilliant. The problem with Debussy is that he doesn't fit our music theory modes.
Yeah.
So you learned music theory in school, or maybe you're still in some music theory. Music theory is absolutely German-centric. If you learn music theory and you learn it well, you will be able to understand all sorts of stuff that German composers have written, and people outside of Germany that were also writing in that style. Debussy wasn't. You don't even begin to approach Debussy until your 4th semester of music theory, which you guys don't need because you're...
Hallelujah. Hey.
So,
You're like,
Oh,
I wish you
we
did
should
though.
have. Oh.
Oh yeah, we can't touch
that's right.
hands.
No touching. No
Yes.
touching.
It's okay. Just snack hands, that's all.
So, and again, I mention this because it's important, I think, to get a context for music. And as you educate your kids in the schools that you're teaching in, you don't have to tell them that I'm not up here bashing Bach or Beethoven. Bach was brilliant. Bach, probably the greatest musician that ever lived. Probably Bach. Brilliant. I'm not bashing Bach at all. I'm simply saying that we're limited we limit ourselves if we just stay with the standard kinds of theory and history texts. There's a movement right now in professional educators, college level, university level educators, to figure out a different way to teach theory.
That would be wonderful.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I'll jump on that bandwagon.
Okay. And but they haven't been able to find out something. The music theory systems we have for teaching right now, if nothing else, are systematic and organized.
Yes.
Okay. But it doesn't turn us into musicians. It turns us into music theorists. It turns you into somebody who can take a melody and you can harmonize that melody with proper voice leading. That's not music, that's just theory. That's a theory exercise. That doesn't explain how Bach worked. And you both know that Bach wrote parallel fifths, which of course you get an F on your theory assignment if you wrote parallel fifths. Okay, so Bach gets to do it, why can't I do it? Okay, because Bach didn't care about music theory.
I should have told my first music theory 1 professor that. Because I got F's on all my harmonization part.
Good idea not to say that to him because he's probably not
Honestly,
good.
that's
Oh, he was chill.
That's
He
what I
was
appreciate.
fine.
That's what I appreciate about Miss Christopher though. Like she's very much, what do you think sounds good? This breaks the rules, but I mean I think it sounds good too.
The job of the conductor, it's your ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's detection, diagnosis, and remedy. It's detecting the issue, diagnosing what the problem is, and then coming up with a remedy. That's what you do. Okay? Music is a language. Conducting is part of that language, and you need to be able to do. You need to be able to figure out what you want to tell your choir by using your hands or stick. Okay? So all this stuff is on the final, by the way. So for what it's worth. Now, lecture, which we're going to really get to. How is a choral score constructed? Yeah, we'll get to some of it.
I had a question before we moved on, which you probably. This is actually back to the syllabus assignments. The research project, written oral report, is that it says that the list of topics will be provided by you. Do we have a timeline on when those will be provided?
It'll be. I'm going to have you pick the topics. Let's see, which one are you looking at?
It's on Canvas. The research project, written an oral report. Student will select a practical topic.
Right.
From the a list from the choral instructor. Research a topic and present a written oral report. More information will be given later.
Yes. I can assign you a topic. I prefer that you pick one that is meaningful to you. Pick one, and I prefer that you pick one that's meaningful to you that wasn't meaningful to you for another class. So don't pick something you've already written, but pick something new, something meaningful, and something that you think it's something interesting that you want to cover.
Okay, and this is just music in general, or conducting, or choirs.
The more conducting specific, the better. We also have choral techniques, and there's choral lit and choral techniques that you haven't had yet that you'll need, And we'll talk more about choral music in that. But for this, it doesn't have to be like the difference between a French 6/8 pattern and an English 6/8 pattern.
You
We're not
wouldn't like
talking
that
about
if you tried.
Oh,
Yeah,
French
it's in our McEllerin.
French do
It's
that. It's a
disgusting.
weird thing.
It was disgusting.
The devil is alive.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a specific list because chances are during spring break I'm going to work ahead on a lot of these smaller
Okay.
things. So
okay,
because I'm
Yeah.
going to have a week off of work, so I'll have time.
yeah. In this class, we'll talk about. We should get into things like choral sounds. There's different things you can do with a choir to change the way of the timbre of the choir.
Yeah.
So there are different schools of thought in terms of what a choir should sound like and how to get that sound. So we'll deal with some of that. So that might be something that interests you. You can go ahead and pick out a topic now, but as we continue to talk and work through some of this material, my guess is that you're going to go, oh wow, that would have been a good thing to write a paper on. Understand that, huh?
No, it'd be really cool. A paper about how the McGurk
McGurk.
the McGurk effect can be applied when conducting. How you can use that when conducting to help students achieve proper sound.
Maybe.
If anybody's done it before and I could actually find research on it.
There's research done on McGurk and on audio illusions. I don't know of any work done on McGurk effect in choral conducting. Anyway, okay, possibility. Understand, and again, understand I'm dumping a ton of stuff on you. There's stuff that you need to accomplish in 8 weeks. This is a 16-week course compressed into 8 weeks. And it's still a whatever 2 credit hour course. And so we still have to cover the stuff we have to cover. We just have to do it in half the time. I hope that you aren't taking like 5 other classes at the same time you're doing this, because if you are, you'll be very busy. That's part of the fun of an 8-week cycle, is that you don't have to take 5 classes all 16 weeks. You take 2 or 3 here and 2 or 3 there. Okay, so I'm just saying this will take some time, and you got to do it to build the skills. So, all right. Other questions about any stuff that?
Sorry, Dr. Honors texted me. That's why I keep.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, I think that's.
Choral score is generally has 3 to 4 voices. You know that. SATB is typical. What are other variations in choral music?
SAB, SSAA.
Yeah, SSAA,
TTB.
SSA, TTB, TTBB, 4-part men's music is very common. Okay.
SSAATTB. I'm sorry.
There's some of that
Oh,
too.
never mind. Okay, that
That's
was
less common, but there is some of that.
Okay.
If you have a lot of ladies and you don't have a lot of guys, SAB, as you mentioned, is choirs and churches that do that. I've done some SAB music in the church choir I conduct. There's generally music's going to be either a cappella or piano accompaniment. We'll talk a little bit about tuning. You understand, I think, that pianos are slightly out of tune because of even tempered tuning. Somebody, I'm sure, told you that the thirds and the sevenths are higher when you're actually tuning without. A cappella music is tuned differently. Okay. You probably, if nobody's ever told you that, you do it naturally. So, but it does happen. So you just have to be aware of that when you're rehearsing with the piano, because when you actually tune the choir for a cappella music and you stop using the piano for rehearsal, you have to retune the chords. So we'll talk some about that. What does a cappella mean?
It's
A cappella.
One voice.
yeah one. It's
Oh, never mind.
I don't know, because it's not one voice, because you can have a group of voices singing without accompaniment. So like I was always taught it's without accompaniment, but you can also have occasional accompaniment when you're singing a cappella, can't you?
Well, this is good to know. A cappella. A cappella. A is the first word. Cappella is the second word. A cappella means in the style of the chapel.
Oh.
That's what it means. Or in the style of the church. A cappella. As they do it in church. Unaccompanied, basically. That's what a cappella means. Voices are stacked in choral music from low to high. You know that. Multiple voices does not hide the fact that we are creatures of tertian harmony. What is tertian harmony? We are creatures of tertian harmony.
How do you spell that?
T-E-R.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I spelled it right. I did. T-E-R-T-I-A-N. Tertian. Tertian. What is tertian harmony?
I have no idea.
The whole of Western music, all of your music theory, is a study of tertian harmony. As opposed to Bartok, Bela Bartok, who would write in quartal harmony.
And quartal harmony is just from that one guy?
Q-U-A-R-T-A-L. He wasn't the only guy.
Is it
but he was
T-L-E or T-E-L?
T-A-L.
T-A-L.
Quartal.
So, and is that a specific area as well, or just that guy?
Well, tertian means, tertian is 3.
Mm-hmm.
Quartal is 4. So if I said tertian harmony versus quartal harmony, what would I be talking about?
Good. 3. No.
Tertian is 3-part, quartal is 4-part.
No.
No, never mind.
It's not exactly that.
Okay.
Has to do with how chords are stacked. It's not that it's three notes versus 4 notes, or that it's tertian is 3. It's thirds. Okay, so tertian harmony is chords
Oh, yeah.
based on stacked
Chords
thirds.
based on yeah.
Quartal harmony are chords based on stacked fourths. Okay. So tertian harmony is generally what we do.
I'm curious what the other one sounds like.
Sounds cool, actually. Clefs. We use, what clefs do we use for singing?
C clef.
Occasionally, but not normally.
I know, and I hate it.
Okay. What do we normally use?
Treble and bass.
Treble and bass. And treble is as far as letters go, they're all letters. All the clefs are letters.
Oh, yeah.
So what is this? Oh, this is fun. I'm glad we're going over
Is it
this.
just a G clef?
What is that?
It's the G clef, isn't it?
That's a G clef.
Yeah.
That is a script. That's a cursive G, an old style cursive G. That's why it's called a G clef. Actually, it goes like this.
And it goes
Oh,
out
it's
to
not
the
even-
side.
I always
Okay.
thought of it as an S, like a cursive S.
Yeah, it does. You know what? When I learned how to spell my name, that's how they told me how to do the S.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the cursive G is more like farther out, and then the only difference is that you kind of go up on
Right.
this side.
But that is an old style cursive G. Okay.
Oh.
That's why that's a G clef. We call it treble clef. And this is a what?
Bass
Bass
clef.
clef.
C.
That is not a C clef.
No, that's the other one.
It's a bass clef. It is
It's
an
the D.
nope.
E.
Wait,
Ah. Nope.
I'm gonna count the lines.
Ah. It's an F clef.
F. Yeah, because it looks like an F.
This is an F.
Okay.
Okay, that's what it's supposed to be. Just so you know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Just filling in some holes here. Let's see. Well, you know the G and F pitches are different, where they lie on the clef. That's confusing. Okay, C clef is placed on a middle clef. You know what a C clef looks like, right? With the funny.
It's gross. It's in the book. After you read chapter 14, you'll see
Oh,
some.
that's what's used in violas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's movable.
Yeah.
It's movable.
Yeah.
Sometimes this, and it's
See
where
over
these
there.
two bumps. If this little indent comes here, that's sometimes it's moved up and down. It might be here.
Yeah.
Might be here. Okay, so it's a movable clef. Okay. Piano often doubles voices, often independent. Schubert, piano and voice. Schubert and Schumann wrote in such a way that the piano and the voice become a duet. It's very cool.
I like that.
Choral style is no accentuation of bar lines. It's word based instead of first beat stress. A cappella, contrapuntal, continuous dynamics for long tones. Conducting consists of entrances and exits. That's choral. Bel canto style, long notes need to come alive, great lyricism, beauty of tone, legato line, basically homophonic.
Okay, wait.
And I meant just taking that out of the book. I'm going to stop there.
So what is bel canto?
Bel canto means beautiful singing. Long notes need to come alive. It's great for lyricism. It's basically homophonic. And it's what Green calls the difference between choral style and bel canto style. So you'll see it in there. And we're going to stop there so I can let you go because I've abused you enough today.
Is there any way that these notes are in files on Canvas or?
I can send you these for today and then in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I know you didn't have your tablet today, so.
I almost got through everything actually.
Okay.
Yes, my grading is very simple. I assume you're both going to get A's right up front. I'm going to tell you this, that my plan is to have you both get A's. It's not that the course is simple, and it's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. All you need to do is do your assignments and get them done in the time that they're supposed to be done.
And show effort.
Yeah, pretend like you're enjoying the class. Or
No,
pretend like you're getting
you don't have to
something out of
pretend
it.
like
You don't
you're
have to
enjoying.
pretend like you're
No,
enjoying
I
it.
did not. I
Just-
always pretend
no,
I was
that's
enjoying.
true. But pretend like you're learning something. Okay. If you hand in something and it's not up to what I think it should be or up to your standard, I grade you where you are. I don't grade you where I am. I grade you where you are. If I think you haven't worked up to your potential, I will hand it back to you and ask you to fix it.
Okay.
And then you'll redo it and you'll hand it back into me. And by doing that, by the time you hand it in and I go, yeah, that works, you're going to get full points for it. That's why you get an A. The only way you don't get an A is that you don't hand something in, or you hand something in and it doesn't meet what I would hope it would be a regular, that you're not working up to your potential. So, anyway, questions?
You had also mentioned that there would be a written assignment based off of our observation, so should we try to do an observation together for William Baker? And then you said we could discuss that.
If you both do William Baker, if you can't do William Baker, then I'll have you write out your observations. If you can both do William Baker, then we'll come in and we'll talk about it and then you won't have to write anything.
Okay, so we should calendar it together again.
Or if you can't do William Baker, but you can do something, if you can go sit in on Kansas City Chorale, which is a wonderful chorale.
That would be interesting.
Go sit in on one of their rehearsals. I know William Baker is a friend of Calvary's and he's a great guy and it's worthwhile sitting through one of his rehearsals, see what he does.
Yeah, I went to the performance last time and it was good.
Performances are wonderful. Okay, other questions? We're done.